Hello everyone, I'm 10th Dr. Matt, and welcome to something a little bit different, the Kilgrave Hair tutorial. So before we get started, I just wanted to quickly go over hair lengths as well as products and other things that we're going to need. As far as length and cut of your hair, you can basically get away with getting the exact same haircut as you would for a 10th Doctor style, which is really handy because now we have basically two quite different styles that we can alternate between without having to worry about growing your hair out or getting it cut or that sort of thing. You will notice though that David's hair throughout the Jessica Jones series is a touch longer on the sides and the back than it was, say, in series 4 of Doctor Who. It's closer to how his hair was cut in series 2, where it's just a little bit longer and he had a little bit more of a side part left to right thing happening. So as far as the length for the top and the fringe, it's basically going to be the exact same, which is right above eyebrow level is like the perfect length for the top. And the sides and the back are kind of up to you because there isn't much happening there. This is a very clean and neat hairstyle. So this hairstyle will work regardless of the side and back lengths of your hair. Naturally, if you're going for complete screen accuracy, you're going to want them a bit longer. But for those of you like me who have curly hair, it may not be in your best interest to have longer hair in the back, because at least for me, when the back gets longer, then it starts to wing out and stick out in places and it gets really curly and it's just harder to control. So since this is a very classic sort of clean cut looking hairstyle, it also looks great if you have shorter sides. So, obviously my sides are quite short right now. The last time that I went and got a haircut, I got sort of the undercut fade style done with the clippers rather than scissors on the side, just to try it out, and I really do like it. Doesn't quite look the part for a 10th Doctor hairstyle, so if I'm going to a convention or something, I'll certainly be growing it back out to be a little bit longer than the sides are now. But with this Kilgrave hairstyle, it's going to look fantastic with an undercut, just because it's such a classic, iconic hairstyle. Moving on to the products that we're going to use. Basically, it's going to be our same group of things that we use for the 10th Doctor hairstyles. So, first and foremost, you're going to need a hairdryer. And for this hairstyle, this is really important because this is going to be doing a lot of work in getting our hair into the correct shape before we add any sort of product. Those of us with curly hair may need the assistance of some straighteners. You'll also need a medium tooth comb. Moving on to the actual products, firstly I'm using Frizz Control by Moroccan Oil. This one, as usual, is totally optional, but I use it just to help keep my hair sort of nice and neat and smooth. Now for the two actual products that we're going to be using for styling the hair, you're going to need, firstly, some type of dry wax type product. So for that purpose, I'm actually going to be using my old fallback, the Alterna Hemp Hair Concrete. And normally I would say that you could use the TG Bedhead Hard to Get instead, but the reason that I'm using the Hair Concrete is David's hair in this show is very natural looking. That is to say that it's matte finish, it looks pretty dry, it doesn't look like it has a whole lot of product in it. It does not have a lot of wet look whatsoever. So the Hemp Hair Concrete, very dry product, very matte, natural finish. So this is going to look a little bit more the part than a sort of wet product like the Hard to Get would. So I'm actually going to tell you to avoid the Matte Separation Wax by TG Bedhead because this, it has its own bit of a wet look, and it's also not nearly as pliable as the concrete or the Hard to Get. So this stuff is really more suited to spikier hairstyles that are kind of out of control, because as soon as you put this stuff in your dry hair, it's going to be going crazy. So do not use the Matte Separation Wax. And for our second product, we're going to be using our trusty TG Bedhead hair stick, and very little of this stuff, but basically this is just going to add a little bit of moisture to your hair so it's not totally dry, and it's going to help add some texture. So now that we've covered our products and things that we're going to need, let's get started with this tutorial. First things first, as per usual, we need to wash our hair. So I'm gonna go get a shower and I will be right back. So next is an optional step of applying either your frizz control or some type of heat protectant. Next is our all-important step of blow drying. So we're gonna set our hair dryer to medium heat and low power. So I'll start out with this hair dryer basically blowing my hair straight back and then back forwards. This is going to help give us a little bit of volume that our hair will need so that it doesn't just fall flat when we move it over to the side. So I'm gonna do this a couple of times and that should give us just enough but not too much volume. So here I'm going to start blow drying my hair from the left side to the right, and this is going to really help get our hair into the shape that we want for this style. So this is going to be most of the hair drying that I do. You'll notice I also use my left hand to sort of hold parts of my hair in place while I get pretty close to it with the dryer, just to sort of really hammer it into the shape that I want, especially in my notorious cowlick area. After that, we're just going to be continuing moving it left to right, and I'm going to just kind of blow the fringe down towards my forehead a little bit, just so that, again, it doesn't have too much volume, and it will also be a little bit easier for me to straighten if my hair is still laying flat versus if it were sticking up. So once you're all done blow drying, you should have something that looks kind of like this, which is, if my hair was a little bit longer on the sides, it's kind of like a D.I. Alec Hardy look. So as you can see, the hairdryer did a great job of getting my hair into the generic shape that I want, as well as it sort of pre-straightened it a little bit so you don't have to go as heavy-handed in the next step. Next, I'm gonna just do a little bit of work with the straightener, and I'm using a little bit of a different methodology than I would for a 10th Doctor hairstyle. I'm normally, for like a 10th Doctor style, I'll be straightening it kind of straight out or up a little bit. Here, I'm actually going to be straightening it down and to the right so that it just has sort of a natural falling to the right sort of shape. I'm going to be working mostly in the fringe, and for the rest of the top, I'm going to be sort of straightening it just towards the right side. Your whole head of hair is basically going to be going that direction, starting with a side part here and going straight over. So I'm sort of just doing exactly that with the straightener, just so that my hair looks less unruly. If you have just a little bit of wavy hair, you can probably skip this step because the hairdryer will probably have done a bit more work for you. And if we look actually at the original comic book version of Kilgrave, you can see that his hair actually is a little bit wavy. It's not quite as straight as David's is. But in this tutorial, we are going for the David Tennant adaptation. Once your hair is good and straightened, we're ready to apply our wax product. So I'm going to be using less than we normally would for our Tennant hair here, because you don't need quite as much hold, but you do need a decent amount so that your hair has a little bit of volume and doesn't like sort of fall flat when you comb it to the side. You want to make sure this is good and emulsified. Now we're going to apply. Similarly, again, to the Tennant styles, the main thing is that you want to work it into the roots here, and but instead of sort of messing up my hair and making it stand on end, I'm still sort of doing like combing it back and doing everything going to the right side. And I'm just gonna go sort of in the opposite direction here, just to really get it into the roots and to add a little bit more volume for the center and back of my head. The sides really need barely anything, so I'm just using what's left on my hands and just flattening them straight down with that leftover hair concrete. And now, you know, as you can see here, I'm really just hammering this cowlick, just because normally if I don't do that, it'll be standing straight up like that while the rest looks nice. So I'm just really over exaggerating and shoving all the hair way over to the side in the very front there. And you can see it still wants to stick up in that area, so just a pain for me. Once you got your wax product mostly worked in, you can kind of turn your head to the side and sort of try to get a side view of yourself in the mirror. And for me, the very front of my hair could stand to be just a little bit longer so that it has the tendency to fall backwards at the top rather than stick straight up. So what you can do if you have that is just sort of take your hair and curl it back with your fingers. You can do that with the blow dryer also, which will help as well. Or some people like to do it with a comb or a brush also, where you can sort of comb it straight forward and curl it back at the end. Comb doesn't work that great for me, so I usually just use my fingers here, which does give it a little bit more of a natural look as well. Now I'm going to use my fingers just to get that side part started. You don't want to bother doing too much work with it here, since you're still going to be applying the hair stick and doing more styling afterwards, and you're going to be messing it up again, but just to get a rough idea of what the finished product will sort of look like, you can start it now. So at this point, we're ready to apply a little bit of the hair stick. In my last video, I mentioned that you can hit this with the hair dryer for a few seconds to heat it up and melt it a little bit, and then roll it on your fingers. That still works great, but as my friend Shane, Indy McFly, pointed out, if you actually use the cap, you can scrape just a little bit off the top of the stick, and that ends up with this little glob inside the cap, which is then very easy to get on your finger and work into your hands to get it nice and melty that way. So I've been doing it that way just because it's nice and quick and, you know, less of a pain to grab the hair dryer again. So I'm just applying this just to my fingertips, not the palms, and just working it until it's good and melty. And so now I'm going to apply it mostly on this part of my head. I'm going to use a little bit in the fringe, but again, we're going to be very careful with this because we don't want our hair to end up looking too greasy or wet. So this is great for the sides as well, since those are going to be pretty much flat. And so now I'm going to do a little bit in the fringe here just for the texture, and work the rest through the top of my head. Alright, so we're looking good with the amount of product that I have going on here, so now we're going to move into the actual styling part, and here you're going to use quite a bit of this medium tooth comb. So what I'm going to do first is just get the side part going, and that's naturally the easiest part of this style to do. And now we're going to start with just doing a crazy comb over, just everything to the right side, all the way down from the front all the way to the back. And then you may have some hairs just sort of sticking straight out on the right side, so you can just kind of comb those down and back a little bit just to get them good and neat. And so now you'll notice I'll grab the comb like this, and I'm going not only from the left to the right, but also towards the back a little bit in the very front, just so that I don't have my hair sticking out into the side. And from here back is basically just straight across. So you want to do this until your hair is almost ready. So that's looking pretty good. Now for the last part, we're going to use our fingers just to add a little bit of volume to our hair and make it look a little bit more natural and get it into the final shape. So what I like to do first here, I take my hand and kind of make this sort of claw shape and just use the tips of my fingers just from the very start of my forehead here straight to the back, just to give it a little bit of lift. And I'm not pressing very hard at all. I'm pressing quite lightly. And you'll notice I'm still going back and ending up towards the right side a little bit. Because you don't want to mess up the shape that you've just created with the comb, but you do want to add a little bit of volume. And I'm just going to smooth the sides down and the back down. Now if you do have longer sides to your hair, you'll notice that the right side of David's head is pushed back. It doesn't really come straight down. That's just to keep it neater looking, since it is quite long, and if it were just to go straight down, it would probably end up going over the top of his ear or being messy over there. So like I said, you can smooth it down and then just to the back a little bit if you have the longer sides. So here is where you're just gonna sort of nitpick and clean up any spots that got messy. So I'm gonna clean up my side part area a little bit, and this back where the whorl of my hair is, just so that I don't have flyaways sticking out back there. Just gonna make sure that this part of my head is going straight to the side and that the front is a little bit more straight up and over. And that's it. At this point, if you sort of want to freeze your hair in place for the day, you can hit it lightly with some hairspray. But other than that, you can just leave it right the way it is. It'll look very natural, and you know, if it gets tousled during the day, you can just sort of run your fingers through it and get it right back into shape quite easily. So that does it for this hair tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'd love to see some photos of your own Kilgrave hairstyles. If you follow me on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, you'll already know that I've been working very hard to put together my own Kilgrave cosplay from the police station scene with the purple suit and everything. So please stay tuned to my channel, as I'll be having a Kilgrave cosplay how-to video coming up on that, as well as a number of the usual 10th Doctor related stuff. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching.